Hello, friends. Uncle Marv here, and this is another episode of my Unhealthy podcast, my journey to a better life. Life doesn't get better by chance. Life gets better by change. So, folks, I'd like to thank you for joining me, and I wanted to do another podcast episode that explained a little bit more about what I hope to gain from this show and give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect. And I need to actually start by saying that the information contained and shared by this podcast is for general purposes only. And from time to time, I'll be talking with friends and people about some medical stuff. But the things that we talk about are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. And any products or services that are talked about here are provided by third-party guests or websites, and those too are provided for informational purposes only. And anything that you do, folks, you need to consult with your doctor or physician. Now, on the last show, I talked about my goal, my number one goal in not just really doing this podcast, but the thing that I'm going to be working on in my life. And that was to start with baby steps and lose 10 pounds. And I know that I put my own limits on that, but that's for me. And you will have your journey. Some of the other things that we will be talking about in the show are really going to be anything that is considered unhealthy in terms of habits, in terms of health, in terms of mind. And there are no shortages of sites and YouTube videos that tell us what is unhealthy. So I wanted to quickly read through some of the things that we'll be talking about in upcoming episodes. Now, of course, a lot of this is going to be based around health and fitness, and we'll be talking about unhealthy eating habits. We'll be talking about exercise or lack of exercise, because it seems as though not moving enough and too much sitting is one of the things that is leading to not having optimal health. The average person should get at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise 5 days a week, or 20 minutes of vigorous intensity exercises 3 days a week. Now, let me tell you where I'm getting this from, because this is not my information. I'm actually reading today from a health site called behealthful.io. Now, I'm going to be getting a lot of my information from different sites, different people, and I will do my best to always give you the reference of what I'm talking about. So behealthful.io it's actually a different kind of website. It's not like your WebMD. It's not like your Men's Health or any of those. Be Healthful is really an online directory of health coaches. I believe they're all certified, and they have a full disclaimer and all their stuff like that, but they have a ton of resources, all based on, healthful recipes, healthful products. They have blogs. And, for instance, I'm reading today, the latest blog is to unlock your inner potential with the help of an accountability coach. It's funny that I mentioned accountability, because that's what I said was something that I wanted to get out of this podcast, was a way to help keep me accountable in my goals. So the behealthful.io has a nice little section here that talks about all these unhealthy habits. In fact, they actually have a section later in the blog where they list 50 unhealthy habits. Now, of course, it's going to be questionable whether these are actually all 50 unhealthy. But, of course, they have the usual suspects, smoking cigarettes, consuming excessive amounts of alcohol. eating a diet high in processed foods and sugar, and then not getting enough sleep. That is probably one that I have seen, I guess, over the last 12 to 18 months that I've really been paying attention. Not getting enough sleep is huge, where people say that in some cases it is the number one thing that we have allowed to interfere with optimal health. And I know that according to the National Sleep Foundation, it says something like adults should get 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And that when you don't get enough sleep, it leads to things like fatigue and irritability, impaired decision-making, all of those things. But then there's also this component of not only do we not get enough sleep, but we could actually be sleeping at the wrong time of day. And that's a whole nother show that I think I've got a guest lined up for. We're going to be talking about things like the circadian rhythm and getting our body in a very good cycle. But again, a lot of these things focus around, screen times and your internal clock and poor sleeping habits. But that will be something that we talk about on a later show. And then, of course, it talks about, and I've got this article, I'll put a link to it in the show notes. What are some bad habits to quit? Of course, smoking, overeating, not exercising regularly. And then, as I mentioned, the list of 50 bad habits. A couple of these are going to be complete episodes all in of themselves, but one that I found in particular, that not drinking enough water. And I know that that has probably been a recommendation over the years that, the actual, how much water should we drink, varies from person to person and varies from, active lifestyle, whether you work, whether you're an athlete or all these things. But I was trying to pull up a story that I wanted to talk about, and I was trying to find somebody that would help me do this. But there was a story that came out last week where a mom died from drinking too much water. And all I can remember of the story is that it seemed as though her body went into this state where she felt like she could not get enough hydration in her. And this was over the 4th of July weekend. And this mom, it was a mother of two, her husband and her two daughters were out on a lake. And as they were getting ready to go back in, she just felt like she was feeling hydrated and could not drink enough water. And it was reported that she drank 4 bottles of water in 20 minutes. And they do believe it was the 16-ounce bottles. And so 64 ounces that she drank in a span of 20 minutes. And that's technically, in some cases, what we should be drinking for an entire day. And the lady did make it home. She passed out in her garage. She was taken to an area hospital, but never regained consciousness. And basically, the doctors said that she died from water toxicity. So it's a rare condition, but it is something that obviously we need to think about. So I wanted to find somebody to talk about that. So if you're listening and you either are an expert or have some familiarity with that or know somebody that does, let me know. That's just an interesting thing that came up in the news as we were talking about, as I was doing research for all of these episodes. And then going down the list, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff, everything from not visiting the doctor for regular checkups, not getting enough protein, not wearing sunscreen, not receiving regular eye checkups. to not taking mental health days. And that is all going to be a part of the mind, body, spirit aspect of the show, where we are going to talk about the mental aspect and, trying to have a positive outlook on life and taking care of one's overall well-being. So those are some of the things that I wanted to let you guys know. It wasn't all going to be about weight loss and health and fitness. We are going to be talking about all these other things, and I've got many people lined up to talk about the wholeness of the body. So that's it. And I just wanted to get that out there. Thank you for listening to another episode. I swear we are going to get started here with some guests and get into some real meat and content, but I wanted to get you a little foundation of where I was in starting this show and what my goals are. And I hope that you would join me in letting me know what yours are as well. So thank you for listening. Stay subscribed to find your motivation, get support to live healthy and be happy. See you soon.